what's happening, everybody? Friday. Oh, it's Friday the 13th. Just noticed that. Friday, June 13th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. World War III may have just started. You know, no big deal. No big deal. Let's just move forward. Let's just move on. What are you going to do? With Israel attacking Iran, of course, the radical left continues to blame President Trump for this. I'm not totally sure why, but everything that goes on in the world apparently is either because of or in direct relation to President Trump. Also, Senator Alex Padilla. I know none of you knew who he was 24 hours ago, but now you do. He got his moment in the sun. Interrupting a Kristi Noem press conference and being detained for like 2.5 minutes. Naturally, he is posing himself as the victim, even though, I don't know, a 2.5 minute arrest. I don't know. For anybody who's ever been arrested before, you're usually not released within 90 seconds. Just saying. Just saying. Also, Doge cuts continue to go through the House of Representatives with 4 Republicans voting against it. I'm not really sure why. And we dive into all the good stuff. Before we get started, guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's get it rocking. Let's get it rolling here. Let's pump this live chat up onto the screen. There it is. For the LFA audience, wherever you're watching from, obviously we had a little tiff today. We had a little issue, but we worked it out. Because that's what we do. You know, in the words of Bill O'Reilly, F it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it in the greatest clip in history. What's happening, everybody? Jeanette, how are you? B.A. Palumbo, Bad Moon, Skylar, how are you? The one I am, what's happening? Everybody doing good today. I'm liking it a lot. There we go. So, real quick, before we dive into all the news of the day, once again, tomorrow, for my local audience, Kings Park Street Fair. Come on down. We're going to be having ourselves a grand old time. The weather's supposed to hold out. It may rain in the very early morning, but come on down afterwards. Look, we got a lot of stuff for Father's Day. Come on down for that. Also, once again, I'll be saying this every day, so I hope you guys will enjoy it. July 11th through the 13th, I'll be in Tampa Bay, Florida, for the Turning Point Action Student Action Summit, July 11th through the 13th. Come on down, meet me, meet your favorite influencers, your favorite people on X, TikTok, where everybody's there. Come on down for that. Guys, before we get started, like I said, hit the thumbs up button, share the video out all over the place. Giddy up, let's go. So, yesterday, some stuff happened, obviously, with Israel proactively attacking inside of Iran. Obviously, this is a major escalation on the world stage. It's something that Israel had been talking about doing for quite some time. Let's be honest here. Israel and Iran don't really like each other. To put it aggressively mildly, of course, in the domestic policy area, this is obviously important with Israel being our biggest ally. What will America do following the Israeli strikes? Now, what's interesting about the Israeli strikes is how they were carried out. And what do I mean by that? Well, it turns out they snuck a bunch of drones into Iran and then used them in the attack, killing 4 high-level military targets. Here was Fox reporting that.
The leader of the country survived. What is the thinking on that in terms of the Ayatollah today? Who is he surrounded with? The number 2s. But I guess if you're feeling like you're number 2 right now, you're still not very safe.
Yeah, I think Israel's goal was to decapitate Iran's military. They also killed the national security official who was leading the nuclear negotiations with the United States, Ali Shamkhani. The goal here for Israel was to destroy Iran's means of retaliation, but also to create the opportunity for others to be potentially promoted into their place. I think, as President Trump noted, maybe they will be less intransigent, less defiant, less provocative. But at this point, Israel tried everything they could, so did the United States, to bring a diplomatic resolution and prevent the crisis that is unfolding in the Middle East.
Now, of course, there's obviously crisis in the Middle East. There's always crisis in the Middle East. But this came on day 61 of Trump's ultimatum. What do I mean by that? Well, President Trump told the Iranians that they had 60 days to make a deal. This attack came on day 61 of that. Here was CNN's Dana Bash reporting what she spoke to President Trump about.
But didn't say explicitly that the U.S. supported what Israel was doing. So that's how I started a very brief conversation. And he responded by saying, quote, "We, of course, support Israel, obviously, and supported it like nobody has ever supported it." And then he went on to say this: "Iran should have listened to me when I said, I gave them, I don't know if you know this, but I gave them a 60-day warning, and today is day 61. And then he said they, meaning Iran, should now come to the table to make a deal before it's too late." And then he said something really noteworthy. He said, "The people I was dealing with are dead, the hardliners." To which I just wanted to underscore, so what you're saying is Israel has now killed the people who you were dealing with, and he said very sarcastically, they didn't die of the flu, they didn't die of COVID. It was a brief conversation, but my takeaway was twofold. Number one, they are really hoping that instead of escalating the situation, which is what most people, our terrific reporters and analysts you've been talking to all morning, believe is possible, even probable, he's hoping that instead of that, this forces Iran to come to the table. We'll see if that's going to happen. He also, he made clear he understands that it could escalate, but he is hoping now that Israel has done what it's done, that it takes another turn and de-escalates. We'll see.
It sounds like such an interesting conversation, though brief, and you hit on what seems to be emerging as one of the key questions here, especially based on what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said almost immediately after the attacks began, which was basically this was Israel acting unilaterally. It's one thing if President Trump says this morning that he supports Israel. It's another if he signed off, as it were, on the attacks yesterday. And it's still hard to tell where that line is, Dan.
He definitely, it's such an important point, John. He definitely did not say, I signed off on this.
He definitely did not say he signed off on this, but because it comes in the timeline of the 60 days to make a deal with the Iranians, many people are blaming President Trump for this. Like Israel said, basically what they are suggesting is that Trump went to Israel and said they have 60 days to make a deal. They didn't make the deal. Therefore, on day 61, they attacked. I mean, it doesn't seem like an out of this realm reading of the situation, but it also doesn't seem like Israel coordinated with the United States in any way. Obviously, this is an ongoing situation, and we will keep you abreast of any updates on that. The big problem with this is the sort of wishful thinking, I think, on the part of the Trump administration. Look, the Iranians are not moderate people. Okay, they're not. At least the Iranian regime is not. They're going to do something. And we saw attacks inside of, I believe, Tel Aviv last night. The Iron Dome picking up many of the missiles, but with over 100 Iranian missiles landing within inside of Israel proper. Now, look, this is obviously a serious escalation, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying because, look, I have made it very clear on this show, I support Israel in this battle. However, you can't kill everybody. And at what point is peace no longer the objective? And it seems like right now Israel is not aiming for peace, aiming for resolution. They seem to be aiming for escalation, which isn't good. Isn't good. I want to be very clear about that. Look, Israel can do whatever the hell it wants. It's its own country. However, I do fear what American involvement will be. I don't think it'll be like a boots on the ground type situation. I just mean American involvement in its totality. Will there be retaliation against American targets? I don't know. Let's be honest, that portion of the world, many times it is very hard to judge what they will or will not do in terms of anything. We will wait and see what happens with that, but as I said, this doesn't seem like it's going to end well. It doesn't seem like it's going to end particularly well. Guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. It's Friday. We're going to have a little bit of fun towards the end of the show today. We're going to congratulate Chris Cuomo on waking up, but I want to make sure I show you guys more of the highlights out of the testimony yesterday in the House of Representatives, because there was fire. It was fire yesterday. Before we get to that, here's Jeremy.
Hey everyone, I really hope you are enjoying the program today, and I hope you enjoy LFA TV as a whole, because let's face it, we're not getting any younger. However, if there was a way to slow down our aging and live a little bit longer, would we do it? I think we would. You ever heard of Fatty 15, folks? Well, Fatty 15 is a brand new supplement that has C15 in it. You might ask, what's C15? Well, C15 is the first fatty acid to be discovered in 90 years that actually prolongs your life. Over 100 studies over many years were done on dolphins because these two doctors were in charge of basically increasing the dolphin population. So they started introducing this fatty acid called C15, and what they found was something amazing. The dolphins were living longer, and the dolphin pods were growing bigger. It was an amazing discovery. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you can get C15 introduced into your life to slow down the aging process of your cells. And it's not only going to make you feel and you look younger, but it's going to make your body think it is younger, which means you're going to start doing more things again. There's a thing called cellular fragility syndrome. And cellular fragility syndrome happens as we get older. This is going to reverse it, folks. Fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That is fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. Get your discount today, folks, and start this new journey to help you live longer. Fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA today. Now, back to the program. Thank you very much.
Guys, go to fatty15.com/LFA. So, obviously, there were way more scenes out of the congressional hearing yesterday, and I want to make sure I bring you all of them because they're hilarious. They're hilarious how these Democratic leaders simply cannot answer a basic question. And why can't they answer a basic question? Because they know that it will upset the radical left. So here was Tom Emmer absolutely eviscerating, it's about a 4-minute clip, absolutely eviscerating Tim Walz.
Welcome back to Washington, Governor. I'm going to run through a series of facts before I get to my questions, so let's get started. Governor Walz, you signed the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill expanded Minnesota Care to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition paid for by the state. You signed the Driver's License for All Act into law in March of 2023, and that bill allows illegals to receive driver's licenses. So, you claim you're not a sanctuary state. You just provide free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal aliens. One reason you're here testifying before us today is because you refuse to cooperate with ICE. While states like Florida and Virginia empower their law enforcement to detain and remove criminal illegal aliens, you, sir, have done just the opposite. Your Attorney General is directing law enforcement to ignore ICE immigration detainers. Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you again, and thank you for being here. First, I would say, as my job as governor of Minnesota is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation.
Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Congressman, what I would say on this is that Minnesota follows all law. I would say
it's a very easy question. And again, if you claim you're not a sanctuary state, you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
If you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. On May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws," close quote. On May 17th, just this spring, at the University of Minnesota Law School's commencement ceremony, you said, quote, "Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets." When you said the words modern-day Gestapo, you were referring to ICE agents. Gestapo, by the way, sir, was the official secret police of Hitler's Nazi Germany. So you're calling ICE agents modern-day Nazis. Given the attacks on ICE agents that took place in Los Angeles over the weekend, don't you regard your dangerous inflammatory rhetoric as a problem?
The questions you want me to answer first.
So, sir, it saddens me that you refuse to express regret from comparing ICE to Nazis. ICE agents are brave Americans who get up every morning, leave their families, and put their lives in harm's way to protect our country, sir. You, at the very least, owe an apology to these dedicated public servants. I will say, sir, inflammatory rhetoric such as yours and the other governors on this panel is responsible for putting a target on the back of every ICE agent who is risking their life to protect our communities. Minnesota is all too familiar, by the way, with the chaos that ensues when you refuse to work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear. Free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hard-working, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement. Thank you.
Without objection, so ordered.
So much of yesterday's testimony is going to be run on absolute loop throughout the midterms. Now, obviously Tim Walz is a complete and utter buffoon. Right now he is doing his damnedest speaking with Neera Tanden, who is one of the, you got to be honest with you, probably one of the worst people in America. Not only is she unbelievably disingenuous, she's also unbelievably stupid. Right now he's speaking at the Center for American Progress, probably trying to recoup from the absolute ass kicking he got yesterday all throughout the House of Representatives. Now, much of the whooping he got came at the hands of Nancy Mace. This is just funny. You know what? Let's watch it together.
What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well, that.
What
Okay.
do you want me to say? This is.
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
It's just fun to watch. It's just fun to watch the absolute shellacking many of these Democratic governors got. And look, a lot of times, I will be the first to admit it, many times these congressional hearings turn into sideshows. Many times they turn into absolute freak shows so that people can get clips to end up running on their commercials. And look, they do. Republicans do it, Democrats do it, everybody does it. So let's all not pretend we're not all part of the same hypocrisy. But every once in a while, somebody goes a little too far. Somebody goes a little too far. And that brings us to Senator Alex Padilla. Now, I know none of you have any idea who this person is. He's the guy that took, I'm pretty sure he took Kamala Harris' Senate seat. He was just a run-of-the-mill senator, one of the 100 that you can't name. He just was. Until yesterday when he decided to storm into a Kristi Noem press conference. You see, many of these people on the House side and on the Senate side who are on the Oversight and Reform Committee think that that gives them carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. So he interrupted a press conference. He was asked to leave, and then he reached the find out stage of F around and find out.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, Alex Padilla was detained for about 6 minutes, tops, not even. He was detained for like 2 seconds, and then he went on MSNBC for 2 minutes and cried.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. You guys have some questions. I'm going to read a brief statement. I will not be taking questions, but allow me to read my statement. I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall. Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues, have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country.
Make sure you cry. Oh, shut up, bro. Shut up. Look, it was a stunt. You got your time in the limelight. And now let's move on. Boy, I tell you what. Alex Padilla must be really pissed off at Israel right now because this guy was in the news for like 16 minutes and then Israel decided to attack Iran. Ha ha. You didn't even have time to put out a fundraising email, Alex. That's a real shame. But you see, here's the thing. Press conferences, Alex, are for the press. Your time is on that dais where you get to make things up. It's a shame. It sucks to suck. And you certainly, I mean, look, he's from California, so the fact that he is an unbelievable actor should not be out of the realm of people's, it's let's be honest, it's, none of us should be shocked by the fact that he can act. What a victim. What's happening to the farm workers, the cooks, and the people who clean Alex Padilla's house and raise his kids? What's happening? Oh, my God. It's so sad. It's so sad. It was so bad that even CNN put him on blast.
Being treated quite that way.
We just received a statement from the office of Senator Padilla, and they say that he's currently in Los Angeles exercising his duty to perform congressional oversight of the federal government's operations in Los Angeles across California. It goes on to say that he tried to ask the secretary a question and was forcibly removed by federal agents, forced to the ground, and handcuffed. He is not currently detained, and we are working to get additional information. David, over and over, we've heard from voters in different parts of the country talking about how they want to see Democrats confront the administration on some of these issues like immigration. I mean, it gets handsy, but Padilla was trying to make a statement there.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, she was holding a press conference and doing a press statement. He's not a member of the press. It wasn't like a hearing where it was an open forum for senators to ask a question. He clearly showed up to a public event to create a moment and do what you're saying, sort of show his constituents, not just Democrats, but that he's fighting from his perspective. Again, I think the question is, was this the appropriate response of how it got dealt with in that moment and how that plays? To your point, though, I mean, what we're seeing politically is a very divided country over the support and opposition. It's almost evenly divided in a Washington Post poll today over the president's actions and policies here, both over the president putting in the Guard and the Marines there, right? But also we see an evenly divided country over support and opposition to the protests to ICE's action.
You might also, in a situation like this, say, what kind of moment was the senator looking for? But I also would note, and I'm curious just if you can speak to kind of the norms of things. Normally, you have a situation where there's more interaction, even between members of Congress who maybe don't see eye to eye with the White House. They are a little able, at least, to have some kind of interactions. There really are no avenues, I think, for members of Congress to get the ear of someone at the White House if they're not seen as very in line with President Trump.
I mean, I think it depends on the issue and the personnel, right, that find access points to certain things.
Are you high, lady? Are you kidding me? We just dealt with 4 years of a dead man that was basically kept away from the press. Donald Trump speaks to the press every day. Right now, he's in a meeting with his national security advisors over the attacks on Iran and Israel. But look, let's be honest, we're all pretty aware of the fact that we're going to get answers. We're going to get answers at some point. We know a press conference is coming. This is the most transparent administration in my lifetime. They talk to the press every single day. Even the ones who suck. Even when we're all sitting around going, why is Trump giving CNN the time of day? We're like, this is ridiculous. And you know what? Some of you who have made that critique have been absolutely correct. We shouldn't even give them the time of day. But the administration does it over and over and over again. I'm sure if Senator Padilla actually wanted to have a conversation and not just grandstand, he could have just done it. In fact, Kristi Noem sat down with the press later on in that press conference and answered all of their questions. All of their questions. Here was Kristi Noem.
These are people. Are we sending the message as a country that people, even with no criminal record, and that they're taking the legal correct path, are not safe from
If they took the
detention?
legal correct path, they would have come here legally. They wouldn't have come into our country illegally. Second of all,
Some of them
they
are
have final
criminals. They have
removal
come
orders.
here and
They have
maybe
final.
overstayed their visa.
They have final removal orders, and we're
That's
following.
That's a civil offense, but not a criminal record.
It is actually under the acts that the president has invoked it through his executive orders. It actually is a criminal offense. And so one of the things that we need to remember is that when you're going out there and talking about what is happening with individuals who are in this country illegally, is that they have the opportunity every single day to return back home, and we will work with them and facilitate that and work with their families. But if they choose to wait back and to not make that decision today, then they are subject to this type of operation that will target those that have criminal activity and backgrounds and perpetuators of violence first. Those are our targets. But we are going to make sure that we're bringing peace back to the city of Los Angeles.
She told me she has hundreds of cases of people coming in asking for asylum. They go to their immigration checking.
So my only question to you, I'd say a question back to you is, which laws in the United States should be enforced and which ones shouldn't? I mean, my job, here's the deal, guys. My job is not to pick and choose which laws we enforce and which ones we don't. We have laws in this country, and they matter. If you want the law changed, go to Congress. When's the last time you went to Capitol Hill and told your senator or representative to change it? That's what they need to do. This is the perfect time for Congress to make a decision on how they want people in this country to be able to have an opportunity to come here legally and to fix this. We, as law enforcement officers and as a national security department and agency, my job is to uphold the law, and that's what I will continue to do. Yes, sir, I'm going to finish with you, and I kind of like the Bass Pro hat, too, so I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go to you. So go ahead. Yes.
Is this unique to Los Angeles?
Nope. These operations, I will say these operations have been much more difficult because of Los Angeles and California's.
I mean, so Alex Padilla wants to sit there and say, I can't get that reporter did not the first one I should say. That reporter did not have a conversation with Secretary Noem. She had a debate. She had an open air debate. But Alex Padilla wants to put on a show. I don't really care. I really, really don't care. Of course, this comes as the No Kings Day is going to be happening tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, deporting illegal immigrants may be difficult, but do you know what's not difficult? Switching banks with Old Glory Bank. I did it, and you guys should do it too. So head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com, and switch banks today, guys. At the very least, consider opening up a CD with them. I think it's one of the best ways to lock in some of these interest rates that Jerome Powell seems to never, ever, ever want to lower for any reason. So, guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com and support the people who are supporting the parallel economy. Go to own.oldglorybank.com. That's own.oldglorybank.com. So, some of our governors out there have been allowing these ridiculous protests all over their states, like Gavin Newsom, like Kathy Hochul, as we are on the heels of what is being dubbed No Kings Day, whatever the hell that means. Donald Trump made a joke yesterday that he's certainly not a king. If he was, he'd be able to get a hell of a lot more done. But tomorrow there are scheduled protests all over America, with many happening right here on Long Island. Unfortunately, I will be dealing with early voting here in the state of New York. I will not be able to attend any of the lunatics out there. But if you are in the state of Florida, just know that you've got options. As Governor Ron DeSantis has made it very, very clear what happens if you are in a place where people want to block highways, you've got an option.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
So, for the good people of Florida, the good people of the Sunshine State, where I will be on July 11th, if you get stuck on the road with protesters, just step on the gas pedal. That's not me saying that. That's the governor of Florida. Look, I know Governor DeSantis has taken a lot of crap over the last several months after he went against President Trump and tried to run for president. Let's be honest, I made fun of him on this show as well. But pretty based comment. Just mow the protesters down. And these things are getting so bad, these protests are getting so out of control, that they have even lost the likes of Chris Cuomo. Yeah, you heard that correctly. With Chris Cuomo on his show last night coming out and saying the quiet part out loud, that many of these protesters may in fact be being paid by, you ready for this? China.
These protests are fed by dark sources with a desire for our destruction. One of the main players in organizing and funding the Los Angeles protests is a group called CHIRLA, C-H-I-R-L-A, acronym, Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights. They have received millions in government grants and state grants, but now reports are showing that there may be a foreign link, specifically from China, funding and organizing these protests. The pro-Chinese far-left Party for Socialism and Liberation, they're known as the PSL. They are working with CHIRLA, helping fund the protests in Los Angeles and maybe elsewhere. Remember, all the parties in China are controlled by the CCP. So this is China. And the party is pushing to destroy capitalism and the West. This is its agenda. This is what China wants. They even have a term for the effort. It's called the Smokeless War, where they have this theory of how they'll destroy the West without actually taking to the battlefield. That's what they did during the anti-Israel campus protests. The PSL worked hand in glove with anti-Zionist student groups and helped organize and fund the Columbia campus encampments. Now it gets scarier. Where does the PSL get its money? Enter Shanghai-based socialist billionaire Neville Singham. 2017, he sold his tech company for about $1 billion. Reports show the same year he started funding far-left groups like the PSL to the tune of millions. Singham is not America's friend. He has deep business ties to the CCP, but also has strong ideological ties to communism, period. People who worked for him says he's an admirer of Mao, Che Guevara, Hugo Chavez, not friends of American culture. According to the New York Times, Singham has funded and developed a deep global empire of pro-China nonprofits in the media and grassroots political space, steering millions into these groups over the years, including the PSL. And guess who was associated with the PSL and other Singham-funded groups? Elias Rodriguez. Ring a bell? This scumbag, the 30-year-old Chicago man who murdered 2 Israeli staffers in cold blood last month to make a political...
Hi, Chris Cuomo. I gotta be honest with you, buddy. I don't think I saw that coming. News Nation, where is Chris Cuomo and what have you done with him? Because I can promise you, I'll bet you my last dollar. I'll bet you my last dollar that if he was on CNN, there is not a snowball's chance in hell he would have ever uttered that statement out loud. Now, News Nation is, I'll be honest with you, News Nation is actually doing a hell of a lot better job than I would have thought with some of the talent that they have on their network. But to come out and say that directly, it's only a matter of time until you conspiracy theorists out there, you conspiracy theorists, will be proven right once again. We know that these people are being paid. At the very least, they're certainly being funded. We saw that with people dropping off biohazard masks. And look, who paid for the tents at all the colleges? Someone did. Somebody paid for hundreds and hundreds of the exact same tent to be at many American universities. Someone paid for that. But who is it? We come up on No King's Day here in America, and we're going to see protests all over the country. John Miller on YouTube says, that can't be Cuomo, it's got to be AI. That's pretty funny. Exactly. Someone let me know who that guy was, because I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Fredo is turning into Michael. Who knows? Now it's only a matter of time until Chris Cuomo does the right thing and starts to admit that other things are happening that we were told weren't happening. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. Check out Mike's mega sale over there at MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. We are rocking. We are rolling here, guys. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Things we got some big stuff happening everywhere. Before we keep going, I want to give a shout out to somebody. I want to give a shout out to Smithtown Town Supervisor Ed Wareheim. Ed Wareheim has always been a friend of mine and a friend of the Loud Majority, even though many times he was told to stay away from us. Well, yesterday he was endorsed. Oh, let's make this a little bit smaller. Yesterday, he got endorsed by Elise Stefanik, obviously my favorite to be the next governor of New York. As chair of the House Republican leadership and a proud New Yorker, I know how critical it is to have strong local leaders who stay connected with the people they serve and who work hand in hand with state and local and federal partners to create real results. And that's exactly what Ed Wareheim is. Ed is a dedicated public servant. It goes on. He played a critical role in Trump's New York leadership team, helping him to deliver the highest per capita voter turnout in the state, a testament to his ability to inspire, organize, and mobilize. He understands what his constituents want. Elise Stefanik, thank you so much for endorsing an amazing candidate, an amazing man here on Long Island. Look, there's really no question who the America First candidate is here in the town of Smithtown, where we do a lot of our work here at the Loud Majority. We always love the people in Smithtown. They do great work. One of the most beautiful towns on Long Island, maybe in America. So congratulations to Ed Wareheim for that. Let's keep moving on, because I just wanted to make sure I got that little clip there. Guys, as I said, Chris Cuomo, we'll track back now. Chris Cuomo admitting that these protesters are being paid something, or being funded at the very least. Something I was told was a conspiracy theory. Something else I was told was a conspiracy theory was that illegal immigrants were voting in our elections. Well, turns out that's not a conspiracy theory anymore.
This morning, HSI Miami, along with our state and federal partners, FDLE, DSS, and USCIS, arrested a permanent resident who is a Haitian national and a convicted aggravated felon. He was arrested for unlawful voting and casting a false ballot. He will be booked into the federal detention center to face prosecution.
Yep, turns out illegal immigrants voting in the elections, casting fake ballots. Something we all knew was happening, but something else you weren't allowed to say out loud. Something we've been yelling from the rooftops here for years at this point. Let's be honest. Also, we've got breaking news at this hour. MS-13 gang member and alleged wife beater Kilmar Abuego Garcia has pleaded not guilty to human smuggling charges, which means we're going to get a trial, baby. We're going to get the trial the Democrats begged for and the one we can't wait for. So, Kilmar Abuego Garcia, I know CCOT in El Salvador is probably a pretty rough place. Wait till you get to Guantanamo. You asked for this, my friend. You asked for this, and I promise you, I have full faith in the fact that Pam Bondi would not have brought him back here if she did not have the goods. I can't wait for that trial. I say we all stream that trial from gavel to gavel like OJ or Casey Anthony. That way the entire world can see what this piece of crap did. What this piece of crap did. Good. I hope we get more of it. Guys, before we keep rocking and rolling here today, because I do want to tell you guys about some good news on this Friday the 13th. I didn't even realize that until we started the show. Friday the 13th. Some good news is that yesterday the House passed the Doge cuts, sending them on to the Senate, where they will probably die, if we're being totally honest here. But the House of Representatives was able to pass some of those cuts. Here was the vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 214, the nays are 212. The bill is passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Yep, so 4 Republicans voted against it. I think it was Mike Turner, Maliotakis, Fitzpatrick, and one more voted against the Doge cuts. Just so we're aware, if Mike Turner, what the hell's Fitzpatrick's first name? From Pennsylvania, Fitzpatrick, or Nicole Maliotakis of Staten Island, New York. Just in case they're curious as to, what exactly they voted against, here's a couple little nuggets.
Now is our chance to end the abuse once and for all. So here are just a few examples of some of the outrageous Biden-era programs that this bill stops in its tracks. You're not going to believe the things that I give you here, but they are all factual, all verifiable. You're not going to believe it. $9.3 million to teach Russian doctors how to perform abortions and gender analysis, whatever that might be. $45 million in the International Planned Parenthood Federation to bankroll abortion activism in Swaziland, give free health care to the people in Houthi-controlled Yemen, and study the impact on Malawi's economy of shop owners soliciting prostitution. Now, you might remember also, back in the day, the Biden administration, they tried to reclassify the people of Yemen in order to say that they weren't a foreign terrorist organization, so that they give them exactly that kind of aid. That's the kind of aid that they wanted to give them, and that's why they reclassified their foreign terrorist organizations. We also did $3.5 million for the World Health Organization to address harmful gender norms in Ghana and Nepal. $3 million for circumcision, vasectomies, and condoms in Zambia. $35 million to address vasectomy messaging frameworks and gender dynamics in Ethiopia. $833,000 to support transgender sex workers in Nepal. Are we serious here? And if you're wondering why I said sex workers, it's because that's the way that they actually wrote it on the documents that they were doing when they were doing these programs. $500,000 for a lesbian justice foundation in Canada. $1 million for voter ID in Haiti. $567,000 for LGBTQI plus programs in Uganda. $8,000 for promoting vegan food in Zambia. $2.5 million to teach young children how to make environmentally friendly reproductive health decisions. $6 million to subsidize media outlets in Judean Gaza Strip. None of these programs saves lives or promote our interests abroad. President Trump, Secretary Rubio, and House Republicans are putting America first into action. Passing this bill is how we keep our promise to the American people, and I couldn't be more proud to say that all of these cuts are coming out of those of us that have been working to eliminate the waste, the fraud, and the abuse within the United States Department of State. That's the Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Appropriations Committee that does that work. Couldn't be more proud of that work.
I got to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to throw the chat up here in a second because I want to get your take on this. Which one of those are you most offended by? Which one of those do you think we need the least? I've got to be honest with you. I've got to be honest. When I decided that I was going to host a news show, I never really thought I would be talking about people's foreskin in Zambia. But I can promise you, I absolutely don't care about them. I don't know why we're funding circumcisions anywhere around the world. That seems like a you problem. I don't know, chat. What do you think? Which of those policies are the ones that upset you the most? Let's pop the live chat up, get some interactions from the crew. I don't know. I've got some serious questions here. I've got some very, very serious questions here. What is going on, everybody? Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place because while I did have good news for New Yorkers, we are about to present you with some terrifying news. I could give you like semi-bad news, or I could give you full-on, just off-tilt bad news. So it turns out you're going to get the really, really bad ones when it comes to the mayor race. All in one big money laundering scheme. Yep, that's exactly what it is. That's teaching children to make environmentally friendly reproductive decisions. I don't even know what that means. How do you make an All right, you know what? We'll do the reverse. Hazel Kitty, that's the bad news I got for you. But back to the environmentally friendly reproductive decisions. Can you give me an example of an environmentally unhealthy reproductive decision? I just don't... I don't know what that means. Like circumcisions in Zambia. I know what that means. I know what $9.3 million to teach Russian doctors how to do abortions. I know what that means. I know what $45 million to Planned Parenthood all over the world. I know what that means. But what the hell is an environmentally unfriendly reproductive decision? Are you, I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat knows. Tim Walls. Hazel Kitty, yeah, that's an environmentally unfriendly healthcare reproductive decision, giving birth to Tim Walls. Jazz hands. Jazz hands. Oh, yeah. Jazz hands. Once again, guys, Iran just struck it. Hold on. Somebody just said Iran has just struck Israel again. Did that happen? Let me see here. Let's pop this up and see all of what is happening. Did that just happen again? Give me 2 minutes, everybody. Karen Reed. Let's see. Let's see. Do we have a... Of course, I've got to watch an ad. I've got to watch an ad before I watch a war. Let's see. No. Fox now has Karen Reed, the Karen Reed trial going on. All right, I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. Guys, once again, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Who's ready for the bad news? Guys, Zohan Mandami. Zoltan. The communist running to be New York City's mayor is now, I cannot believe this, is now leading in the polls in New York City. Is now leading in the polls. The young socialist candidate is now polling ahead of Governor Andrew Cuomo in the city's mayor race. Zoltan Mandami is pulling ahead of Andrew Cuomo in a few weeks before the primary. Oh, no. According to a new survey from the public policy polling done for Justin Brennan's city comptroller race, Cuomo is running behind Mandami 31-35 with a margin of error of 4 polling. I want to be clear. I said it on every damn show on planet Earth that Andrew Cuomo was going to run away. That Andrew Cuomo was going to run away with this mayor's race. And I am eating my words in a very serious way. Now I got to go on the Matt Gaetz show and say I was wrong, which for anybody who knows me knows that is my least favorite thing in the world to do. My least favorite thing in the world to do is admit that I'm wrong, which luckily I don't have to do very often because I'm normally right. So Zoltan is polling ahead of Andrew Cuomo now in the first poll. Now, we have ranked choice voting here in New York, so we will see what all comes of that. But, you know, they say they get the government you deserve. Zoltan. I mean, look, he's pulling. If he wins, he'll have earned it. I can't say he didn't earn it. I can say, though, that New York will absolutely, positively, 100% suck even more if he wins. And that's not going to go. That's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Guys, Will Johnson is coming up next. Do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you guys are following the page. All of the good stuff. We're going to wait for Will to pop up right now. Actually, look at this. Will's calling me right now. Hi, Will. Start now. Bye. Guys, I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.